Good day everyone. Today we are going to learn about Aristotle's virtue ethics. But before that, I will introduce myself I am Romney Rice and I am the one who discussed this topic. This lesson is about understanding what it means to do a good person, not just by doing good actions but by developing a good character. This topic teaches us that being moral or ethical is not only about following rules, but about becoming the kind of person who naturally chooses to do what is right. For example, a person who is truly kind does not help others just because they are told to do, but because kindness is already part of who they are. In other words, kay part na gud sa imong lifestyle ang imong pagkabuotan. Dili kay nagbinuotan ra ka kay naay kapalit. Virtue ethics comes from a habit and character, not merely from following rules and seeking for a reward. Learning objectives. In this lesson, we have three main goals. First, we want to understand what virtue ethic is. Second, we want to learn how it helps us decide what is right and what is wrong. Third, we will look at some questions or problems about this idea. What is virtue ethics? Virtue ethics is a way of understanding right and wrong by focusing on person's character rather than just their actions. Instead of asking, is this action right or wrong? It asks, what will a good and virtuous person do in this situation? It teaches us that good actions naturally come from a good people who have developed virtues like honesty, kindness, and responsibility. Example, imagine you find a lost wallet. If you are not a virtuous person, you keep it or taguon mo ang kwarta, dili mo iuli. But if you are a virtuous person, on the other hand, you will return it to its owner because being honest and responsible is part of who they are. In short, virtue ethics focuses not just on what you do, but on who you are as a person. True goodness comes from building a strong virtuous character. The idea of virtue ethics. The main idea of virtue ethics is that your action reflect your true character. Sa dali na istorya, kung unsay ginahimo nimo, maopoy nagreflect sa imong kaugalingon. So ang yani na siya. If you are kind, your action will naturally be kind. And if you are honest, you will naturally tell the truth. Virtue ethics teaches us to develop good habits so that doing the right things becomes natural and automatic. Example, a student who studied regularly even without being told shows responsibility. And the students who help a classmate without expecting anything return shows kindness. So in short, being good is not just something you do occasionally. It becomes part of who you are. True virtue comes from building a strong character, not just performing good actions. Framework of virtue ethics. Virtue ethics provide a simple guide for deciding what is right. So nagyud ay guide para maka-decide ta kung unsay tama. First, examine your character. Understand who you are and what virtue you already have. Second, ask yourself, what will the good and virtuous person do in this situation? And third, act accordingly. Try to follow the example of a good person. By practicing this approach consistently, we grow and improve over time, become a better people. Say example, the scenario is if you see someone being bullied, tapos a kind person will offer help, but a brave person will stand up for them. Another example is you find a classmate pencil case. A honest person will return it, but a responsible person will make sure it gets back to its owner safely. So in short, virtue ethics train us to become the kind of person who naturally chooses good actions rather than just doing a good deeds occasionally. Types of virtue. According to Aristotle, there are two main types of virtues that help us become a good person. First is intellectual virtues and second is moral virtues. Intellectual virtues, this involve the mind and thinking skills o paggamit ng isip at pag-iisip ng maayos. While moral virtues, this involve how we act and treat others. Mao ni siya kung paano tayo kumilos at makitungo sa ibang tao. So examples, intellectual virtues, a student carefully solve a math problem by thinking step by step. While sa moral virtues, a student tells the truth even if they might get in trouble. So, in short, to become a truly good person, you need both a smart mind and a good heart. Virtue as a self-realization. Aristotle believed that every person has potential, special abilities and talents inside them. However, these abilities do not grow on their own. You must practice, learn, and work hard to develop them. This process is called a self-realization, which means becoming the best version of yourself. Example, a child becomes a great singer by practicing regularly, and a student becomes knowledgeable by studying and asking questions. In short, you are not born perfect. You are grow, improve, and discover your true self over time. So, in other words, practice makes perfect. Happiness as the goal. Aristotle taught that the ultimate goal of life is happiness, but not just simple happiness for fun or pleasure. True happiness means living a good and meaningful life, doing what is right, and becoming your best self. Example, helping someone in need can make you feel proud and fulfilled, not just happy for a moment. Achieving your goals through hard work gives lasting happiness, not temporary joy. So kinsa may dili gusto malipay sa future? Di ba wala? But sa karon more on sacrifice lang sa, but hopefully in the future more on happiness na sad. In short, real happiness comes from living well and being a good person, not just for having fun. The golden mean. According to Aristotle, virtue is about finding the right balance, which he called the golden mean. This means not too much, not too little, but just the right amount. It teaches us that being a good person is not about doing things in extremes. Instead, it is about choosing the right amount of action depending on the situation. True virtue comes from self-control, wisdom, and balance. So example is courage. So courage is not simply being fearless. It is about balancing fear and confidence. So we break down na to. Too little is mo na siya ang coward or always afraid to act. Too much mo na siyang reckless or takes dangerous risk without thinking. And right amount mo na siya ang brave, faces challenges with occur and good judgment. So ang scenario is there is a fire in a neighbor house. So the coward runs away and does nothing even if they called help. And the reckless person rushes into the fire without a plan and may get hurt. But the brave person calls for help and assists in safe and responsible way, such as warning other than helping people evacuate. In short, virtue is about finding the right balance in your actions. Being a good person means avoiding extremes and making wise, balanced decision is in every situation. Virtue in other traditions. Virtue is not only taught by Aristotle. Many cultures, religions, and philosophical traditions around the world also teach what it means to be a good and moral person. Even though this tradition comes from different places and beliefs, they are all share a common goal. The goal is to guide people in developing good characters and right behavior. This shows that virtues are not limited to one culture. They are shared human values that help create a better society. Example of different tradition is Confucianism that teaches kindness, respect, and proper behavior, especially toward family and elders. And in the Hinduism that teaches truth and self-control or self-discipline of desires. And in the Buddhism that teaches right actions and right thinking through the eightfold path. And in the Christianity, teaches love, compassion, forgiveness, and helping others. So, no matter where you are in the world, many people are tough to respect elders, no? Like saying po and opo. Tell the truth even when it is difficult, and help others in need without expecting anything in return. In short, values like kindness, honesty, respect, and compassion are universal. So this means they are important in every culture and tradition, and they help people live peacefully and harmoniously with others. How virtues are developed. According to Aristotle, virtues are not something we are born with. They are learned and developed over time. So, dili built in sa ato ang virtues. We learn it by experience and develop over time. Just like in any skills, virtues grow through practice, repetition, and experience. You don't become a good person overnight. Instead, you become a good by repeatedly choosing the right actions until they become part of your character. So over time, this action turns into habits, and those habits shape who you are as a person. Example, you become honest by telling the truth again and again, even in small or difficult situation. Other example is you become respectful because consistently using polite words like please and thank you and showing good manners every day. And last, you become kind by helping others regularly, not just when it is convenient. In real life comparison, learning virtue is like learning a skill. In sport, you practice every day to improve your performance. In music, you repeat listen to master an instrument. In the same way, you practice good actions daily to build a strong and virtuous characters. In short, being good person requires effort, practice, and consistency. Virtues are built through strong habits, and those habits shapes your characters for life. Ethical person. According to Aristotle, an ethical person is someone who does not just follow rules, but has a good and well-developed characters. An ethical person is first has a good character. Show virtues like honesty, kindness, and responsibility. Second is thinks carefully before acting. Consider what is right and the possible effect of their actions. And third, consistently chooses what is right. That does the right thing again and again, not just once. Being ethical means what doing good becomes a habit and a natural choice, not something forced. So example, returning extra extra change from a store. So if a cashier accidentally ni sobra ang cambio, a person without strong ethics kay dili iuli ang kwarta. But a person have an ethical but the person is ethical, it will return it because they value honesty even if no one noticed the mistakes. In short, true goodness comes from within a person's character, not just from following rules. An ethical person does what is right because it is part of who they are, even when no one is watching. So, virtue ethics is not just a theory, no? It is a practical, o makita na to siya sa atong adlaw-adlaw na pinabuhi. It guides how we act, make decisions, and develop good character in real situations. Let's remember the most important ideas about virtue ethics. Ethics is about your character, not just actions. Virtue means excellence of being your best self. Happiness comes from self-improvement, and virtue are learned through practices. And lastly, virtue ethics is remind us that we should always try to improve ourselves. We should develop good habits, and we should choose to do what is right every day. So final example last is every day you make a small choices. So natay every day daw kay natay mga choices. So to be kind or rude, or to be honest or dishonest. The more you choose what is right, the more you become a good and virtuous person. Um, in short, your action today shape the person who will become tomorrow. Being virtuous is a daily practice, and every small choice counts. That's all. Thank you.